To the Most High Yahweh, where Yahushua HaMashiach this day. John 5:39. I say, and it says, search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. Another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that come from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you. The Abba, there is one that accused you, even Moses, in whom ye trust. If had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words? Galatians chapter 6. We know we're dealing with endure all things. Shalom, Brother Jennings. Oh yeah, we're supposed to have some baptism this month, ain't we? Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Galatians 6 and 7. Be not deceived, Elohim is not mocked, for whatsoever a man sow, that shall he also reap. For he that sow to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that sow to the Ruach shall of the Ruach reap life everlasting. Let us not be weary in well doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. Let us not be weary in well doing. I think this is going to be towards the end. But let's look at something that we talking about not falling. Well, we were talking about drinking that cup. But before we continue on that road of drinking that cup, let's take ourselves to 1 Samuel chapter 22. It might be 21. That was Galatians chapter, the same stuff we've been reading over and over again. Nah, there's no reason. They ain't get caught up in all that. That's just what we got. But we just go into the stuff and look at it. I ain't no real big person on reading out of this translation and that translation when the difference of the words is really not that major of a difference. When you actually look and see what the words mean in the language, some words mean a little different than what's actually translated there. But for the most part, it pretty much say the same thing in the majority of the text. It's only, yeah, the part about not being weary and well doing, the same through. I just didn't read 1 Corinthians 13. 7 through 9. 6. So yeah, we don't really matter. Word, no problem. Individuals, I'm not against. People got all type of translations. They all cool with me. I just read whatever book I got handy at the time, to be honest. Yeah, I said what, 20? Well, we'll start in 21 so you can understand what's going on. Of course, David is in flight at about this time. When in 1 Samuel 21 and 1, it says, then came David to Nob, to Amalek, the priest. Amalek was afraid at the meeting of David, and he said unto him, why art thou alone, and no man with thee? David said unto Amalek the priest, the king hath commanded me a business, and have said unto me, let no man know anything of the business whereabout I send thee, and what I have commanded thee, and I have appointed my servants to such and such place. Now let's look at this statement, what he just made. He said, don't let nobody know what it is what you got to do and what you're here for. So the first thing he said, he commanded me some business. Let's take ourselves to Luke chapter 2 for a moment. Yes, Luke chapter 2. Luke chapter 2 and about verse 41. Now his parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up to Jerusalem after the custom of the feast. And when they had fulfilled the days as they returned, the child Yahushua tarried behind in Jerusalem, and Joseph and his mother knew it not. But they, supposing him to have been in the company when a day's journey, and sought him among their kinsfolk and acquaintance. And when they found him not, they turned back again to Jerusalem, seeking him. Came to pass that after 3 days they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the doctors, both hearing them and asking them questions. All that heard him were astonished at his understanding and answers. And when they saw him, they were amazed. And his mother said unto him, Son, why hast thou dealt with us? Why hast thou thus dealt with us? Behold, thy father and I have sought you sorrowing. He said unto them, How is it that you sought me? Wish you not that I must be about my father's business? And they understood not the saying which he spake unto them. Now, of course, when you sitting back, you're looking at it, he say he's been sent to do a particular task. The same thing that David said when the priest asked him, why are you alone? Why ain't nobody with you? So I've been charged with a business, a particular task. All of us have been charged with a business. But let's sit back and look at this one thing, because only Hamashiach's servants knew what the business that he was charged with. And of course, y'all know what we're about to look at. And this is still continuing to not be weary and well doing. So let's look at Matthew chapter 16, verse 19. I know that ain't broke, but my doggone bone pop in and out. That's not normal. Matthew 16 and 13. Definitely feel like
I think when I'm done writing, to say first, and then I look up and then stuff.
When Yahushua came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, Whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? And they said, Some say that thou art John the Baptist, some Elijah, other Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. Remember, that's what we were talking about the other day. When they asked him who he, and they said Jeremiah, and they said Elijah. And we've looked at this in the past. And when you see how, why would they say that he was Jeremiah? Why would they think he was Jeremiah? Or why would they think he Elijah? And we've looked at it in multiple different fashions. And one of them reasons is because he was coming, saying, and doing the same exact things that these men were doing, and therefore fulfilling the text. And they were acknowledging that unbeknownst to themselves at the time. But then also because, more in depthly the things that he was doing, like Jeremiah, the persecution of Jeremiah, of which he suffered, him prophesying destruction upon Jerusalem and the people for the disobedience, even as much as the times where he said that the temple would be destroyed. You know what I'm saying? So they looking at that, and that's along the veins of what they're reading in the scrolls when they go in the synagogue. He said unto them, But whom say ye that I am? Simon Peter answered, Thou art the anointed one, the Mashiach, the son of the living Elohim. Yahushua answered and said unto him, Baruch art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood have not revealed it unto thee, but my Abba which is in Shamahim. And I say also unto thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my house, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I will give unto thee the kingdom of Shamahim, and whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Then he charged his disciples that they should tell no man that he was Yahushua, the anointed one. So, and then at that time, he went to tell him what was going to happen to him. But he told him not to tell his business or for what cause or purpose that he was there for. So let's go back, and when you sit back and you see David doing the same thing, and let's see why. Back to 1 Samuel chapter 21. Now, of course, when we get to 1 Samuel 21, and we're not going to read all of that, we will drop down to probably about verse 10, but that's the passage where they, well, I'll go ahead and read to you. Verse 3. He said, Now therefore, what is under thy hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in my hand, or what there is present. The priest answered and said, There is no common bread under my hand, but there is hollow bread, if the young men have kept themselves at least from women. David answered the priest and said unto him, Of a truth, women have been kept from us about these 3 days since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are Kadash, and the bread is in a manner common, yea, though it was sanctified this day in the vessel. See, let's pause, and let's pay attention to this even closely. The priest says, David said, I see you got 5 loaves of bread. Priest said, this ain't regular bread. This is sanctified bread. That sanctified bread, according to the law, was only for the priests. See, pause. Go to Matthew chapter 12 so you could get a little background on when they came at a Mashiach and he made this statement. We read it the other day about contention and strife. And maybe you could get a little bit of background for those who don't know, or why he said what he said. And then we'll look at it in the law too. It ain't gonna hurt nothing. So you can know where that's at and why all that's going on. Better for you to understand completely than to just gloss on over it. Matthew chapter 12 and verse 1. At that time, Yahushua went on Shabbat through the corn, and the disciples were hungered and began to pluck the ears of the corn and to eat. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, Behold, thy disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon Shabbat. He said unto them, Have you not read what David did when he was hungered, and they that were with him? And how he entered into the house of Elohim and did eat the shewbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priests. And see, that's another instance of not being weary and well-doing, and to do well to those, even of those of the household of the faith. And see, this is the thing too, when they talk about, is it not lawful to do good on the Shabbat? Now sit back and think about it, right? You got David and men who hungry. And you really think Yah would send you away hungry to starve because this is not sanctified? You're not supposed to eat this bread? Because that was not bread for them to eat. You're going to look at it in the law. Come to Exodus chapter 20. Not 20, I'm sorry. Exodus 25, and then get your Leviticus 24.
So with that being said, my situation is becoming a bed wife. Like, what if one of my patients went into labor on Friday night?
As long as you've already been compensated.
Oh.
As long as you've already been compensated. Because it wouldn't be no different if Muffin gave birth or Lee gave birth and you went to help them deliver. It's as long as you're not being paid. If them people have already compensated you for your service, then you haven't done anything. Yeah, you can go. It's not an issue. Or you could be like, hey, if a baby on this particular time will work something out with that. But there's nothing precluding you from delivering a baby. Absolutely not. That's not work there. Not in this bit, unless you're being paid. Yeah. Yeah, you can't control that.
But I was thinking about, like, she wasn't in the word. Like,
don't matter. Don't matter.
She can't help it.
Yeah, don't matter.
I was saying, like, if a woman going to labor like on a Friday morning and she don't deliver the baby the next night, that don't mean because she might come in and stop that mother deliver.
Yeah, it don't matter. You got to remember, it was Hebrew midwives delivering babies all through Egypt. Yeah. Hebrew babies or not. Doesn't matter. No, he don't operate.
I just thought about that as being work.
As long as you're not being paid for. Well, his thing was not the work, it was the compensation. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could do something for people that's work as long as you're not being compensated for it. That's why he said, what's the word he used? I have to look at it because it's escaping my mind at this time. Hold on. Yeah, that's what it comes down to, is compensation. You know, like he said, no hired labor. Things, that's how it's described. But hold on, because it's a particular term and it's escaping my brain of what he used.
They're gonna be like, what kind of God you serve?
Straight up and down.
If you deliver my baby,
and you say you can't deliver my baby because my God says the Sabbath I got the rest.
8 o'clock, I gotta go, baby.
That's what I text you. That's all I was like. The time I spent with her.
No.
And then the day she has a baby on the spot, I'll be like, I can't deliver the baby.
Yeah, it's just not, you can't be paid. Like 9 times out of 10, if you...
They pay you a set amount.
Yeah, probably up front. That's what I'm saying. So it's different if I was to go fill a work order, that's hired labor. You know what I'm saying? Even though I'm not getting paid for it right then, but that didn't have to wait. That's not doing good. You know what I'm saying? That yard could have waited. That debris can wait. That window can wait. This person is in a literal life or death situation. Every time a woman gives birth, she could die. That's doing good. Like that's not, nah. He got no. You ain't got no problem with
Say it
that.
again. I said it again.
You don't go deliver that baby. Like I said, it would be no different if it was a woman you knew, whether she was in the word or not, and you had the skill and ability to help deliver that child. You ain't gonna be like, well, it's the Sabbath. I can't help you, baby. Just wait for the ambulance to get here. But people don't, it's the same token we done talk to people and they be like, you can't cook on the Sabbath. So you mean to tell me if a dude came up to you and he was hungry and you ain't had nothing in there, and the only way you could have gave him something to eat is that you would have had to literally cook it and feed him, you would have sent him away? And you got niggas who would have said, yeah, and just been like, I would have gave them the truth of who we are. That person's not going to serve your God. It's not going to happen. We was at a spot, matter of fact, that same spot we went to when them dudes was in there having that little conference, man. Nail people had wanted us to come around there because had something to do with it. And the dude came up there, man, and the nigga was like, boy, I just got out of the hospital from a diabetic coma. I just asked these people for something to eat, and they ain't give me nothing. All these church people in here, this nigga like, all they did was give him a word. Now it was me, Nell, and her friend Leanna, and ain't none of us had nothing. We scraped and scramped to get this nigga something to eat. And then we talked to him about the word after we fed him. And he was like, boy, nigga, listen to you, boy. This, that, then the third. And I don't think it had nothing to do with, he was talking about in the terms of a nigga could relate to him. But it was fun. We wasn't thinking about hitting him with no word. You just said you hungry. So who cares about talking to you about that at that present time? Only I can't speak for Leanna, but me and Nell can relate to how you feel. So the first thing that we not thinking about, let me hit him with these scriptures. Let me show him we the people. You know what I'm saying? And it didn't even think of, if I do this here, he'll believe in my God. It's just, nigga, I've been hungry before. You say you hungry, shoot. Nigga, we ain't got much, but we can get you something. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Like, that's what a nigga thinking about. You know what I'm saying? And you had all these Christian people who this man stepped to that had literally, because we really ain't have too much of nothing, and probably had literally 100 times more than all three of us put together. Ain't none of them think about getting that man nothing to eat. They did exactly what it said in the text, be warm and filled, and didn't give him what was needful for the body, but felt you did your duty because you gave him the word. And that's how a lot of brews feel. If I just give you the word, I feel like I'm doing something. Oh, I can't cook on the Shabbat, but this nigga hungry though. Oh, you can't buy and sell, but this man hungry though. So you ain't got no food on you, and you gonna tell him you can't go in this spot and buy him something to eat because it's a Shabbat. So you gonna send this man away hungry. That doesn't make any sense. Like when you hear that coming out your mouth, that don't make sense. You know what I'm saying? So guess what? You go in that spot and you buy him something to eat because he had need. You think Yahuwah gonna hold that against you? No, he's not. He'll render that to you on the resurrection of the just because you did something for somebody who can't pay you back. That person can't do nothing for you. You didn't do it for somebody who you expected got something in return, and you show mercy and compassion, and that's why the writer in the epistle of James wrote that mercy rejoices against judgment. And these dudes will feel like, see, I didn't break the Sabbath.
Well, you profit nothing for the purchase.
You know what I'm saying? We can't buy and sell, but the man say you home, you in the street, you ain't got no food on you. You gonna go back home and you gonna eat and you gonna be straight later. That man gonna walk away from you still hungry, and all you told him was about a God who couldn't feed him because you can't buy and sell on this set apart day. And you really think this man gonna serve your God? You a fool. You a fool. No, I'm gonna walk right in that store. Get what you want, man. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't finna hit you with no word with that. Get what you want. If you bring it up or he create opportunity, then that's what we gonna do. But we not finna use the fact that we got you something to eat as a means to feel like, now I can get a convert. Master didn't operate that way. Now, them people who were following him, they were already listening to the word. So he fed them because I'm not going to send you away hungry. See, niggas do stuff and it's really, and of course, there's sometimes you got to use a little skill to pull people in with the word. But if you see somebody downtrodden and depressed like that, it's more important on that you show them Elohim than you tell them about him, because you just told them about him when you showed it to them. And then when you come to try to hit them with the word itself, 9 times out of 10, they'll be more receptive to it. That's why I don't respect nobody, word or no word, especially people in the word, bringing them cameras down there, filming you. You embarrassing and humiliating them people. And because you want it, we out here doing the work, we being the light. You talking about what you do, but you humiliating these people in the same breath. Would you want somebody with a camera filming you all in your face? Like, because you down bad? Like, who does that? That junk's lame. That junk was lame to me before the word. And then when you see Hamashiach tell you, don't do that, because Yahuwah see it. That's all you need to be concerned about, who saw that. I know my homeboy, and he live in Atlanta now, but that nigga was in New York. He be like, well, how are we going to let our light shine? Your light is shining amongst the people who you doing it for and who are around. Stop worrying about trying to inspire a nigga on Facebook to do it, because it's not going to have the effect that you think it's going to have. If somebody going to do something for somebody without, they going to do it. I don't need to see a nigga on the internet doing it, because it's going to be in your heart to do it. Nobody don't need. If you need a video of a nigga feeding the homeless, you already got a problem. You already got a problem. Yeah, you ain't got to prove nothing to me, because I don't care. I'm not impressed. When I see it, I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted. Like, you know, different than a celebrity who take a camera. Look at me. Look at the stuff I do. Like I told you before, like when somebody say I do something for somebody and it makes me feel good. You did that for you. You didn't do that for them. You know what I'm saying? Now, of course, what makes somebody feel good is if you do something for somebody and then you can see them coming out of the situation that was in. What make you feel good is still not feeling good for you. It's feeling good that they overcame whatever it was they were dealing with. You know what I'm saying? It's still not for you. You more, when you look at the stuff that Hamashiach did, you think he did that stuff for himself? He did that for the people he was helping. So that's why he said the angels rejoice when the sinner repent, because it's happy that you bettered yourself. I didn't do that for me. I used to always trip when people say, just do stuff for people and see how it makes you feel inside. And I'm like, I don't feel anything. You know what I'm saying?
I was doing research about, I typed in what are some questions to ask if I was trying to become a doula, and it was like, what would you be getting out of being somebody's doula? And I said, to see that woman overcome a trying time in her life.
And that means that's something that you should do. You're not doing that for money, and you're not doing that for any personal gain or anything or the other. You're doing it because that's something you like to do. And then that'll never be work a day in your life. That's why I told you that the other day. That's what you look for, something that you would do for free, which you've already done that for free. You enjoy doing it, and it wasn't work, and you look forward to it. That's the stuff you do for a living. Because it'll never get old, and you'll never get tired of it, and you can do it for the rest of your life and smile. That's why I told you that what happened to my cousin. She didn't realize how much she enjoyed it, I think, till she had Simone. And then she realized, like, this is for me. This is something I enjoy. So she did it, and I don't think she's ever been probably this happy in her life since her mama passed. You know what I'm saying? What it is? Exodus 25 and 27, then we shoot the Leviticus 24. He said, and it's just a lot of filler information. Just read the table where the bread is at. Well, 25 and 23, so you can get the full of it. Really, we don't even need all that. They put the shoe bread on the table, a sanctified table, and we just be reading a lot of filler information that we don't need to read. Leviticus chapter 24. But that's 25 and about 32, and then read through that there. You can see that there. But we definitely can start at Leviticus 24 and 1, because that'll give you what you're looking for. It says, and Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, command the children of Yasharah that they bring unto thee pure oil, olive, beaten, for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually. Without the veil of the testimony in the tabernacle of the congregation shall Aaron order it from evening unto morning. Before Yahuwah continually, it shall be a statute forever in your generations. He shall order the lamps upon the pure candlestick before Yahuwah continually. Thou shalt take fine flour and bake 12 cakes thereof. 2/10 deal shall be in one cake. And thou shalt set them in 2 rows, 6 on a row upon the pure table before Yahuwah. That's the table that's in Exodus 25. that he told them to make, and you can go read that for yourself about that table that they put the shewbread on. And thou shalt pure frankincense upon each roll, that it may be on the bread for memorial, even an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah. Every Shabbat he shall set it in order before Yahuwah continually, being taken from the children of Yasharal by an everlasting covenant. And it shall be Aaron and his sons, and they shall eat it in the Kadash place, for it is most Kadash unto him of the offerings of Yahuwah made by fire by perpetual statute. So you notice that you can come back to 1 Samuel 21. No, they had shewbread in the table. Yeah, and it was one for each tribe. And then it's set before the table, and only the priest could eat it. That's why the master was telling them, you ain't read? When David them came in there hungry, and the priest gave them that's why the priest said, this ain't common bread. I ain't got no common bread. That's when the priest turned around and said, well, just tell me you ain't been in no woman. Just tell me you ain't had no sex, and y'all can get it. He said, oh, yeah, we ain't touched a woman 3 days. He said, yeah, come on. Because he wasn't supposed to give him that. So in any other circumstance, this priest has committed a sin worthy of death. He gave set-apart bread to someone, according to the law, who wasn't supposed to have it. He wasn't supposed to have that bread. So you know what that takes us back to? Look at somebody who's contradicting himself for somebody who needed something. And then he said, this ain't common bread, this sanctified bread. Let me read 1 Samuel 21 again, and then we go to John chapter 6. I know you need to fix your clothes because you got your undergarments on. You're a lady. That's what you need to do. 21:3. He said, now therefore, what is under thy hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in my hand, or what there is present. And the priest answered and said, there is no common bread under my hand, but there is hallowed bread, if the young men have kept themselves at least from women. And David answered the priest and said to him, of a truth, women have been kept from us about these 3 days. And since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are Kadash, and the bread is in a manner common, yea, though it was sanctified this day in a vessel. So what ends up happening is he's saying it's regular bread, even though it's been set apart in this vessel. So listen to verse 6. So the priest gave him hollow bread, for there was no bread there but the shewbread that was taken from before Yahuwah to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away. So there was nothing there but sanctified bread to get these men. So let's sit back and look at something. 1 John 10:34. And let's sit back and look at how Yahuwah gave sanctified bread to common men to feed their hunger. And that's why you can't be weary and well doing. Hey, think about your decisions. Your decisions could lead you in a place that you don't want to go, which will cause you to cry and shed tears. Think about your decisions. Make it John 10:30. And again, that's another point of, you see the priest didn't even hesitate. He said, man, we ain't got no common bread in here. He said, man, we hungry, man. He said, man, at least y'all ain't touched no women, have it? He said, nah, that's good enough for me. Now imagine you sending this man away hungry. Imagine the priest sending this man away hungry. We hungry. I got all these young men with me, and I'm going to send them away hungry. Because this ain't this sanctified bread. Y'all can't eat this. And that's how a lot of brews act. That's why I see my homeboy in Detroit. He was like, what's good, all the precepts you know, and you don't got no love. And that's what most dudes know. They got a lot of precepts, but guess what, though? It's a lot of dudes that they think it's love when they enable men to do things they know they ain't got no business. You know what I'm saying? You know this nigga sinning, or you know this man is putting himself in a negative position, and you go along with it, or you turn your head. You just as guilty of that sin. You might as well be committing it with him, because you'll get the same reward. And dudes don't realize that. You know what I'm saying? I'd be glad niggas don't be telling me what they got going on, because I don't want to know, because you ain't going to like it.
I feel like if I've said it once or twice, and you said
That's all you're supposed to say. You ain't got to keep saying it over and over. No, you're not supposed to. You ain't supposed to. If it's the same issue once, twice, that's enough. 3 times max. You know what I'm saying? According to the text. But if it's a different issue, it's different. But it's the fact of niggas ain't even saying once. They knowing, especially men. See, that's what I was telling them before, like, about that R. Kelly thing. I wouldn't have watched it if I had, because I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Because I already know this nigga a pedophile. I know this nigga's a pedophile since 1993, 94, 95. You know how I know? Because he married a 15-year-old girl. Everybody knows this. So I don't need the sordid details of these young women about what this nigga was doing. I remember when Torre interviewed that nigga, and that nigga said, "Do you like young girls?" He said, "By young girls, what do you mean?" I don't need to see that information. I really don't care. But the point of the matter is, and we didn't talk about before, how black people turn their head to niggas and women and men who molest children. I just told them that everybody know how them grown niggas was knocking down them young girls when we was in high school. I just seen a girl tell me, I ain't even realize I was dating a pedophile. I was 16, he was 26. Nigga, you knew that nigga was too old to be climbing on top of you, but he had money in a car. He buy you little snacks, and you can show it to your little friends in school, and you think you doing something, and this nigga giving you really breadcrumbs, knocking your back loose. You know what I'm saying? And now you grown, talking about, oh, I can't believe that was a pedophile. You knew it was wrong when you did it because you wouldn't tell your parents. If you were dating somebody your age, you ain't had no problem telling your parents. Now you know this nigga 10 years older than you, you 16, this nigga almost 30. You ain't finna tell your mama where you going and what you doing.
To this day, I met my grandma and like my sister was with her with Louis.
Like, come on, man.
Your age. And Crystal. And Crystal like what? Maybe 31?
Oh, that's not a big deal. They grown.
Not when they started dating.
Oh, no, he shoot. Then I mean, he was what, 24, she was 17? 23, she was 16?
Probably.
Yeah, see, that's unacceptable. Do you know what I'm saying? But niggas know that. Everybody know, everybody who watching, everybody who listening, everybody know that y'all knew some young girl who was dating a dude that was grown while you was in high school. Because what's the first thing motion? I like my man older. See, they more mature. No, that nigga got a car. And you want to forge in his whip. You know what I'm talking about? And feel like you doing something because he buy you a little vittles for sex. Because he know you young. You probably a virgin. Ain't too many people been up in you. And that's what niggas be looking for. Because they know that most of these women is ran through. So that's why dudes be going to look for young girls. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm just telling you the truth because I done seen it and I heard niggas say it. I remember my homeboy say, yeah, boy, if you live in 32209, that nigga say you got to get your women off the school bus. Because that nigga say the AIDS rate was like the highest in the city at that time. So that nigga like, you got to get them young, boy. This how these are grown men and this how they think. And I'm like, shoot, nigga, I'm good. That's what I would tell you with that MGTOW stuff. I done heard it loosely. I know what it was. When you hear these niggas talk, that junk hard. Them niggas is hard. And a lot of the stuff they saying to a certain extent ain't wrong. You know what I'm talking about? Because really at the root of it, from what I've been able to gather is they looking at themselves as men of high value and they want a woman of high value. And it's a lot of women who are of low value that feel like that a man should lower his standards and do certain things, or these women of low value are defining manhood and they say they refuse to go for it. But on the flip side, I look at it from that's their perspective. I understand their perspective. But at the same token, I would tell a woman the same thing. If you're a woman of high value, why would you lower yourself for a man of low value and give your body away? That doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? On both ends of the spectrum. You would think that you would continue on doing what it was you were doing until you encounter somebody who could be equal or greater to the value that you provide. You know what I'm saying? But that's the world that we live in, though.
Sorry, go lay down. Mari, go lay down.
Y'all got a problem talking about what you don't want to do. This ain't up for negotiation.
Go to bed. It's 9 o'clock. Goodbye.
And that's the thing we looking at, man. Y'all niggas know niggas be around here touching on little kids, and black people turn their head. People know people out here cheating on their wives, and niggas turn their head. You know what I'm saying? It's niggas who in this word, you know niggas fornicating, and they turn their head. You know niggas drunks, you know niggas getting high, and you like this here. That's between him and the Lord. You evil bastard. You don't love that person, because at the bare minimum, you're telling that behavior ain't right. And you know what ends up happening when you in the word and you tell somebody their behavior ain't right? They get mad with you. What you mad with me for? You doing it? I'm not doing it. I love you enough to tell you to stop. It's the people who won't tell you wrong that don't care about you. It's the people that enable your bad decisions that don't care about you. You know what I'm saying? And y'all niggas don't sit back and look at that. Why would you want people around you who will enable your bad decisions and not challenge you to be a better version of yourself? People, and I notice that people don't want that. Don't nobody want, and I've learned in my lifetime, I know men don't like to be challenged, but I've definitely seen that women don't, especially from a man. You know what I'm saying? If they not a already, if they're not a self-aware woman and they don't come from a background of accountability, I'm talking about from my experiences. And I'm not saying this is every woman on the planet. I done seen that. They get mad. How dare he say that about me? What you mean? But if you was to turn around and say it about him, you would expect him to take that. I would look at it as, but I was raised different. So a woman holding me accountable, it wouldn't bother me because I was raised with that. So I wouldn't be offended by it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of dudes get offended by a woman doing it because they never had a woman do that to them. So when a woman come and do it to them, they get offended. Consequently, most women ain't had a man in their household, a father figure, to hold them accountable and straighten them. And that's why see, there's a root cause of why individuals don't like it. And it's mainly being there was not an adult in your childhood, for the most part, of the opposite sex to hold you accountable. So then when you get older and you start dating people and somebody from the opposite sex straighten you, you get offended because you're not used to it. You know what I'm saying? Like this man tell you, girl, you know you need to do this and do this. First thing, the woman get in her feelings. But if you would have grew up that way with your daddy on your behind, then 9 times out of 10, it'll hurt, it'll bother you, but you'll correct it because you're used to it. I say, my mom and my auntie straighten me every day of my life. So for a woman to come tell me, hey, nigga, you need to tighten up, or this, that, that, and the third, I can take it. I ain't gonna be like, man, who the whole think she is talking to me like that? You know what I'm saying? That's not gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? Or it ain't just gotta be your parents, just an adult figure, period, to straighten you. You know what I'm saying? That's why if you look at a lot of young black dudes, like if a white person of authority figure try to straighten them, they kind of lean to it a little faster than a black person doing it because they're not used to having a black authority figure over them. So then they feel like, who is this dude trying to talk to me like that? I ain't going for that. I ain't going for that. And see, that's why people use the word to do certain stuff that they be doing, because they know people really be craving that from somebody who look like them. People ain't right. It just ain't right. They ain't right out here. 10 and 30 though. Forgive me for that, y'all. But it needed to be said. There's more things to be said, but nevertheless. Because we was always going to talk about that a little bit tomorrow, but we probably shifted and worked it. I don't know how some of y'all feel about being challenged. It's a good thing, though. It's a good thing. Because really, people look at getting challenged in a bad fashion, because y'all challenge people. You know what I'm saying? But it was really challenging you to elevate yourself. You know what I'm saying? And it seems like so many people are not, especially now in this society, in this dispensation of time, because people cater to people's emotions and feelings so much that you can't really say something that could be termed to be out of bounds because people are so easily offended. And I think sometimes too that some people so ready to criticize and point out stuff and not actually give an effective solution to how this person can be better. Like you just want to point out, you don't do this right, you don't do this right, but you don't have a means of telling. But you maybe think about trying it like this or trying it like that. You know what I'm saying? Then it doesn't sting as hard where it seems like you're just attacking me. You know what I'm saying? You just stating to me, hey, I seen a weak, because like I see people all the time pulling out people's strengths, don't point out their weaknesses. That's asinine. So you're going to have an individual walk around with weaknesses. That doesn't make sense. What you're supposed to do is take their weaknesses and turn them into strengths. That's what you're supposed to do. Because if you just disregard that a person has a weakness, they're going to run up in a situation, a circumstance where that weakness is going to trip them up because it was never pointed out. It was never strengthened. It was never removed. That's not beneficial to anyone. That's really enabling. That's mental and emotional enabling. And you don't do that to people. But people don't know how to take a weakness and say, hey, you got this issue. This is how you get better. This is how you get better. And then you don't have that weakness anymore. It was so hard, but you worried about somebody's feelings. People think pointing out a weakness, because guess what? When you lift weights, the trainer looks for what? Weaknesses in your body. And then what do? Give you exercises to do what? So that body part is no longer a weakness. That's what they do. They're trained to watch your body and see, okay, they got a hip imbalance. They got a shoulder imbalance. These are the exercises you need to do to strengthen that. You know what I'm saying? That's what they do. That's what you, come on, people got to be more serious. Look what y'all did. You had a weakness. And what did he do? He sent his son. And in the reflection of that word, show you your weaknesses so you can strengthen them. People got to be straight up stupid. That's not helping anybody. Shoot, if you're weak somewhere, then make them strong. That's why they said those that are strong ought to support the weak and not to please themselves. You can't think like that's not the way of Yahuwah. That's just not even good common sense. John 10:30. I and my Abba are one. Then the Yahudim took up stones again to stone him. Yahusha answered them, many good works have I showed you from my Abba. For which of these works do you stone me? The Yahudim answering said, for a good work we stone you not, but for blasphemy, because you, being a man, make thyself Elohim. Yahusha answered and said, is it not written in your Torah, I said ye are gods? If he called them gods unto whom the word of Elohim came, the scripture cannot be broken. Say of him whom Abba hath sanctified and sent into the world, thou blaspheme, because I said, I am the son of Elohim. So he said he sanctified him and sent him in the world. But let's look what he sanctified him as in John chapter 6. Said, I done fled and escaped, and I'm here. John 6 and 30. See, it'd be a lot of things on a lot of stuff in my head on a myriad of things. And a lot of them I keep to myself. They don't think the world would probably particularly care to hear what I had to say, but I would care less. Say, I shall not. They said, therefore, unto him, what sign show us then that we may see and believe? What do you work? Our fathers did eat manna in the desert, as is written, he gave them bread from heaven to eat. Then Yahushua said unto them, truly, truly, I say unto you, Moses gave you not the bread from heaven to eat, but my Abba gave you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of Elohim is he which come down from heaven and give his life unto the world. Then said they unto him, Master, evermore give us this bread. Yahushua said unto them, I am the bread of life. He that come to me shall never hunger, and he that believe on me shall never thirst. But I said unto you that you also have seen me and believe not. All that Abba give me shall come to me, and him that come to me I will no wise cast out. And I come down from Shamahim not to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me. Let's move around a little bit, because we ain't going to read all of that. Let's look at verse 48. Oh, man, these people just going to keep sending on. He said, I am that bread of life. Your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness and are dead. This is bread which come down from Shamahim, that a man may eat thereof and not die. I am the living bread which come down from Shamahim. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. And the bread that I will give is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world. Now, why did we read this? If he the bread that come down from heaven, will we be able to ascertain that this is sanctified or hallowed bread? Because he said, do you say that I blaspheme, who the Father has sanctified and said that I am the Son of God? Now, this is sanctified bread coming down to feed a common people. This is not bread for regular people. This is shoe bread. This is the bread on the table. This is sanctified bread, which is not for you to eat. The reason why we can say that, because in Psalms, it said with the manna that he gave the people angels food. That means if it was for them, this sanctified food. This wasn't even for y'all, and I gave it to you. And then you look at a Mashiach coming down from Shamahim, and he is sanctified bread for the people. Because these men were weak, so they wouldn't be weary in their well-doing. Because they were out doing the will of Yah. They were running from Saul, but they were doing Yah's will at the time. You think he's going to allow them to fall out and be faint? Did we not read in Isaiah 40 when we began our traversing? 40 and 31 to be specific, through this particular topic about enduring to the end, how he said that he would give strength to the faint. This man ain't finna let you fall out. Not if you believe in him. Now, if you don't, hey, I don't know what to tell you. 1 Samuel 21. We can go to 22. The end of 1 Samuel 21 is, they go to fleeing out of Gath and things of that nature. Now we're going to look at Doeg the Edomite snitching and Saul coming through killing the priest for the good that he did. That's why don't be weary and well doing. We're going to sit back and look at that. Just endure to the end. It's always better to fulfill the will of Yahuwah and endure to the end than to fulfill the will of man and collapse. Yes. Yes. I guess you don't have any more you'd like to add then. Very well. David therefore departed thence. This is 1 Samuel 22:1. David therefore departed thence and escaped to the cave Adullam. When his brethren and all his father's house heard it, they went down thither to him. And everyone that was in distress, and everyone that was in debt, and everyone that was discontented, gathered themselves unto him, and he became captain over them, and were with him about 400 men. See, pause. Now, I want y'all to look at something. Pay attention. When he escaped to this cave, it said when his brethren and father's house heard of it, they went to the cave. So first thing should come in your mind, and look what he said, that everyone that was in distress, everyone that had a debt, everyone that was discontented came to this man. Give me a second, because I'm going to look up discontented and see what that is. Forgive me for that. That word discontented means somebody who is in bitterness or sorrow of pain or bitterness of water and food because they don't have water or food. And it's amazing because we just read that if anybody believed on a Mashiach, they would never thirst. So sit back there. Everyone that's in distress, everybody that's in debt, and everybody that's in pain gathered themselves unto David and set him up to be their leader. And there were with him about 400 men. And they all came to this cave. Well, let's look at something. Let's journey with me for a moment. Journey with me for a moment. Journey with me to John chapter 20. Take a journey. 20:1. Hello, sugar baby. Where are you going? I don't think that's the direction you're supposed to be walking. Would you like to say hello to the people? Say hello. Say, I'm going to bed now. Say good day. Say good day. Good day. Very well. Would you like to stay? You'd like to stay? Well, I'm not picking you back up, so I can't oblige you with that. John 21. The first day of the week come Mary Magdalene early when it was yet dark unto the sepulchre, and see the stone taken away from the sepulchre. Then she run and come to Simon Peter and to the other disciple whom Yahushua loved, saith unto him, they have taken away the Lord out of the sepulchre. We know not where they laid him. Peter therefore went forth, and that other disciple came to the sepulchre. So they ran both together, and the other disciple did outrun Peter and came first to the sepulchre. And he, stooping down, looking in, saw the linen clothes lying, yet went he not in. Then comes Simon Peter following him. He went into the sepulchre, see the linen clothes lie, and the napkin that was about his head, not lying with the linen clothes, but wrapped together and placed by itself. Then went in also the other disciple, which came first to the sepulchre, and he saw and believed. For as yet they knew not the scriptures that he must rise again from the dead. They didn't know that. Excuse me. They knew that he told them that he was going to rise from the dead, but they didn't know that the script said that he was going to rise from the dead. Now they're coming down to this cave. Now, why is this important? The people who have a debt, the people who are, when you're looking at a debt, you're looking at a creditor. Pause. Ezekiel 18, Isaiah 50, not Ezekiel 8. I had Isaiah 50 in my head. I know why Ezekiel 18 came out of my mouth, but that's definitely not what we wanted. Isaiah 50:1. And we're going to look at that coming to the cave, as that's dealing with, coming to get immersed. And this for Brother Francis, because Brother Francis asked about the little immersion. Of course, when the immersions get ready, we got a couple of them Most High willing to do this month, supposed to be. Of course, we'll touch on it again in that regard. Hello, little baby. Isaiah 50:1. Thus saith Yahuwah, where is the bill of your mother's divorcement? Or whom I have put away? Or which of my creditors is it to whom I have sold you? Behold, for your iniquities have you sold yourselves, and for your transgressions is your mother put away. Wherefore, when I came, was there no man? When I called, was there none to answer? Is my hand shortened at all that it cannot redeem, or I have no power to deliver? Behold, at my rebuke I dry up the sea. I make rivers of wilderness. The fish stink, and because there is no water, and die for thirst. So, look at something, right? He said, which one of your creditors? Because it said everybody who was in debt came to the cave that David was in and set him up as their leader. So now he just told you, who is your creditor? You sold yourselves. Your iniquities cause you to be in debt or into owe. Let's take a look at even more about this. Because this is still enduring to the end. Isaiah 52 and 3. Make it 52 and 1. Going a lot different direction than I anticipated, but praise Yah for it nonetheless. Awake, awake, and put on thy strength, O Zion, and put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the Kadash city. For henceforth shall no more come into thee the uncircumcised and the unclean. Shake thyself from the dust, arise and sit down, O Jerusalem. Loose thyself from the bands of thy neck, O captive daughter of Zion. If you're not aware, this talking about this man resurrecting from the dead and putting on that great esteemed body that he put on aforetime. Listen what he tell you, right? For thus saith Yahuwah, you sold yourselves for nothing. You'll be redeemed without money because you in debt. To redeem, if you're redeeming somebody, if you know the law, what the law tell you about redemption? What that refer to, sir? Do you know? Do you know? Yeah, redemption. Anybody know what that is in the law? Redemption? Kinsman redeemer. And what would you be redeeming him for? Because you got to pay what you owe and owe what you pay. Come on, Leviticus 24, for those that don't know. We dealt with it a long time ago. Well, Leviticus 25, my apologies. Shalom, Brother GP. GP, you got to text my phone again because my phone cracked in. Yeah, it didn't keep your phone number. The iCloud bucked you on that one. You definitely did. Definitely did.
Why you gotta make so much noise?
Because I'm a baby. I'm a baby. Leviticus 25 and 32. Yeah, my number the same. It just the iCloud didn't return it when I got another phone. Notwithstanding the cities of the Levites and the house of the cities of their possession, may the Levites redeem at any time. Word. If a man purchase the Levites, then the house that was sold in the city of his possession shall go out in the year of Jubilee. For the houses of the city of the Levites are possession among the children of Yasharal. But the fields of the suburbs of the cities may not be sold. It is their perpetual possession. If thy brother be waxen poor and fallen in decay with thee, and thou shalt relieve him, yea, though he be a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with thee. Take thou no usry of him or increase, but fear thy Elohim, that thy brother may live with thee. Thou shalt not give him thy money upon usry, nor lend him victuals for increase. And again, that's going to take the Mashak that he lends you some victuals. Remember what a victual is, right? You know what a victual is? Little victuals. Little victuals. Hamashiach, did he give you them victuals on increase? Did he tell you you had to give him anything back for it? He gave you his bread of his body. You ain't had to give him nothing back. He said, I'm Yahuwah your Elohim, which brought you forth out of the land of Mizraim to give you the land of Canaan and to be your Elohim. And if thy brother that dwell by thee be waxen poor and be sold unto thee, thou shalt not compel him to be as a bondservant. Let's move down a little bit because we don't need all that. We get it down about verse 44. Say, both thy bondmen and your bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them you shall have for bondmen and bondmaids. More of the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall you buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begat in the land, they shall be your possession. And you shall take them as the inheritance for your children after you to inherit them for a possession, and they shall be your bondmen forever. But over your brethren, the children of Yasharal, you shall not rule over one another with rigor. If a sojourner or stranger wax rich by thee, and thy brother that dwell by him wax poor, and sell himself unto the stranger or sojourner by thee, or to the stock of a stranger's family, after that he is sold, he may be redeemed again. One of his brethren may redeem him, either his uncle or his uncle's son. May redeem, or any that is nigh of kin unto him of his family may redeem him, or if he be able, he may redeem himself. So when you turn around and you look at this here, when you fall into a little debt, you done sold yourself, right? You done sold yourself. Got a little creditor, you sold yourself. Let's look at Romans 6. Don't sell yourself. Every time you commit sin, you're selling yourself. Now you owe. Matter of fact, before we get to Romans 6, Matthew 6. And then from Matthew 6, Matthew 21. This still dealing with enduring to the end. Just a different long road to get to the same point. Praise y'all either way. We just want 6 and 9. Matthew 6 and 9. That must be some good food you eating over there. It is, I see. After this manner, therefore, pray you, our Abba, which art in Shamahim, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. So if he's saying forgive our debts, you asking the debts because you owe. You ask the same way you saying that you asking somebody who owe you or someone who has transgressed against you. Now let's take Sunday, Matthew 21. You should know the parable where we're headed. Well, Matthew 18, my apologies. 18:23. That's a perfect squat you got there, little baby. I can't squat like that with the bar on my back no more. My body don't move in that mechanical plane. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Almost along the same lines, but just a tad bit different from the direction that we going in right now. Almost along the same lines, but just a tad bit different. Tad bit different. Because that's more so when a little leaven lift the whole lump. But we looking at it a little different, just a tad bit different. Therefore is the kingdom of Shamahim likened unto a certain king, which would take account of his servants. And when he had begun to reckon, one was brought unto him, which owed him 1,000 talents. But for as much as he had not to pay, his Lord commanded him to be sold, and his wife and children and all that he had, and payment to be made. The servant therefore fell down and worshipped him, saying, Lord, have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. Then the Lord of that servant was moved with compassion, and loosed him, and forgave him the debt. But the same servant went out and found one of his fellow servants, which owed him 100 pence, laid hands on him, took him by the throat, saying, Pay me that thou owe. And his fellow servant fell down at his feet and besought him, saying, Have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. And he would not, and went and cast him into prison till he should pay the debt. I don't know how he was going to pay the debt locked up. That's what, like, they be locking people up for child support. Well, how are you supposed to pay it in here? That's just backwards. You know what I'm saying? I've actually been locked up with people for child support. And how they do it is they got to pay their purge or 6 months, whichever come first. So if you owe 5,000 and don't nobody come pay that 5,000, then you finna do 6 months in the county. I done seen it too. And I'm like, well, how was he supposed to pay $5,000 in here eating bag lunches, working on the side of the road?
Because he knew that was his balance before they locked him up.
Yeah, well, it definitely ain't gonna get the balance paid during 6 months, I can tell you that. And it's probably gonna definitely decrease his motivation to pay it in the future. It's definitely not a motivating factor. You know what I'm saying? I understand the state look at it as, well, we finna get this up out you one way or another. You know what I'm saying? They think that that's gonna be a deterrent and cause you to pay it. But it's just like they think that death row is a deterrent for people committing murder, but people still kill people. The same way they think if we're going to give you 10 years minimum mandatory for a certain amount of drugs, people still selling drugs. Shoot, y'all telling people I'm going to burn you in hell forever. That don't deter nobody from committing sin. Some people believe it, some people don't. Some people feel like that's been put in the Bible as a tactic to control man. I don't know how they think that, since very few people actually follow it. So clearly it's not a control tactic. I just heard Gilly the Kid say, hey, somebody talking about a man can cheat on you and still love you. He say, well, don't we sin and still love God? Like, people believe this. So to think that these things are actually deterrents, it's not. It's only a deterrent if you respect the consequence. Then it's a deterrent. If you don't respect the consequence, then it's not a deterrent. You're going to do what you want to do. So when his fellow servants saw what was done, they were very sorry, and came and told unto their Lord all that was done. Then his Lord, after he had called him, said unto him, O thou wicked servant, I forgave thee all that debt, because thou desired me. Should not also thou have compassion on thy fellow servant, even as I had pity on thee? And his Lord was wroth, and delivered him to the tormentors, till he should pay all that was due unto him. So likewise shall my heavenly Father do also unto you, if you from your hearts forgive not every one his brother that trespass. See, that's rough. So then he sent him to hell till he paid what he owed. He forgave that debt, but because you didn't want to forgive his debt, he said, you know what? Now what you owe me, I bring it back, and you're going to be tormented till you pay me what you owe me. Now see, he smoothly told people, if you do this, you're going to hell. You know what I'm saying? He didn't outright say you were going to hell, but he used a visual description that the people could see. You know what I'm saying? You could see that in your head. That's all parables about, is so you could see it in your head. So when you see that, right, that person who had desire on him, he got tossed off because he had a debt. He had something he owed. You needed to pay. Romans 6. And all us know we've been indebted to Yahuwah. So he sent somebody to redeem you from your debt. That's why we, especially like what we were talking about last week and brought up again on Romans 6 and I'm sorry about that. 6 and 18 is sufficient. And that's why we was talking about, like, really sit back and think about that. Like, this man died being contrary to himself. How are you living for yourself when you know you owe him? And you say you coming to him to release you from your debt, which is sin. Remember, that's why we went and read Leviticus 24. Or 25, I should say. Because that's the kinsman redeemer. Because you done fell into a debt and sold yourself to a stranger. You sold yourself to sin. You owe this man. You owe him. And you mean to tell me now that you done came to him crying out, forgive me for my sins, Lord. I just want my soul. Forgive me. And then you going to act like you don't owe him no more? You done forgot. See, you that old wicked servant. You done forgot. He said, don't worry about it. Cast him in here into this jailhouse with the tormentors till he pay me what he owed me. But yeah, that's no need to go out like that. That just doesn't make any sense. Make it 6 and 16. Romans. Know you not that to who you yield your servants to obey, his servants you are. Yeah, you do have to be contrary to the carnal mind, because the carnal mind is contrary to the word. Spiritual mind and the carnal mind. I just seen somebody say that the other day, right? They was like, let your man should fulfill all your carnal needs because sex is spiritual. If it's a carnal need, then sex can't be spiritual. You know what I'm saying? But you have a lot of people who believe sex is spiritual. I do. And then it's the other thing that be killing me when people talk about, it's soul ties. I just seen a dude say when you have sex with a woman, you get the demons of every man she has sex with. How? All that man left behind was seminal fluid. If he left that behind. You know what I'm saying? That's the only fluid a man leaves behind. You know what I'm saying? If a woman leaves something on you, it's just vaginal secretions. That's it. What demon got into your body from having sex? Please, somebody that calls me to understand this. As I don't understand it. Where do people get this from? They talking about, it's hard to break a soul tie. No, it ain't hard to break no soul tie. You just like the way that nigga was touching your butt, and that was it. Nigga was doing freaky stuff to you, and you liked it. Now, of course, 9 times out of 10, with women, sex is an emotional act. So they're usually tied emotionally to an individual and cause a carnal desire to be mixed with their emotions, and they make decisions based off of feelings and not off of logic. That's why I'm telling you before, it don't make it right. A man can lay down with a woman and have no emotional tie to her whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? And move on to the next one like it's absolutely nothing. But ain't no tie. I know too many hoes out here, man. Male hoes that they ain't had no problem breaking their tie with no woman they laid with. If that's the case, it's a lot of niggas out here be having soul ties and be locked up with a base. This niggas hitting bases out here. So this nigga got a soul tie with a junkie? I just can't leave her alone, bro. I gotta have that woman. Boy, I know she smoked rocks, but I love her. Come on, man. There's people out here tricking with prostitutes, man. Them boys get their rocks off and that man is gone. You know what I'm talking about? He ain't think about this woman no more. No more. You got dudes that done laid with women didn't even get their name. I don't know where people get this stuff from, man. You got women done laid with dudes ain't got their name and get up and go lay with another dude like it's absolutely nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know where these people get this from. Soul ties, transferring the energy. You just swap bodily fluids, and God forbid that person got a disease. That's about it. That's the only thing you're going to swap with him. If he got chlamydia, you finna get it. If she got herpes, you going to have it. You don't get no demon from having no sex. What? Why? How is a demon coming out of somebody's vagina or penis? That doesn't make any sense. I just don't understand it. Shoot, I don't even think they get that from the Christian church. These regular people be people who don't even deal with the word be saying this here. Junk crazy, man. It's crazy. Say, know you not that to whom you yield your servants to obey, his servants you are to whom you obey, whether sin unto death or obedience unto righteousness. And see, that's what ends up happening. Nigga talking about you lending yourself over to sin, so you obeying your desires. The carnal mind desires to fulfill its desire. And that's what you're going to obey. Ain't no soul tie going on. You know what I'm saying? Because guess what? You got people out here. King Solomon spoke that every man know the plague of his own heart. So you got people out here who are plagued with many things, and sex ain't one of them. You got people who commit sins all day long, and sex ain't their problem. So what soul ties do these Catholic priests got when they touching on these little boys? Because I know they ain't getting no soul tie from raping little boys. That's just a person with a sick mind. Somebody who could commit a whole bunch of fornication and adultery. That's somebody with a depraved heart. That's what that is. They ain't got nothing else to do with it. Stop putting that stuff off on demons and external sources and take accountability for your actions and sit back and say, I'm transgressing. But Elohim be thanked that you were the servants of sin, but you have obeyed from the heart the form of doctrine which was delivered you. Being then made free from sin, you become the servants of righteousness. That takes us back to what was in Leviticus 25. Now you've been freed for your debt. Now you're no longer a slave. You're no longer a bondman. You free. Now you become his free man, as is stated in 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Matter of fact, let's just swing over there and look at that. See, that's what happens if you get door to the end. You end up being made free. I know everybody want to be free. Niggas around here bumping that song was free, and that nigga on that song free. They can sit back and talk about all the stuff on a natural level we ain't free, but Yahushua said whoever commits sin is deserving of sin. And if the Son shall set you free, you shall be free indeed. So truth be told, if you want to know what's free, it's Yahushua HaMashiach, because if you ain't got that, you're in bondage. Nevertheless, make it 1 Corinthians 7 and 18. That's what you ought to be aiming for, to get free from sin, and you're free from death. And then you don't owe nothing, right? You don't owe nothing. Is any man called being circumcised? Let him not become uncircumcised. Is any called an uncircumcision? Let him not be circumcised. Circumcision is nothing, and uncircumcision is nothing, but the keeping of the commandments of Elohim. Let every man abide in the same calling wherein he was called. Art thou called being a servant? Care not for it. But if thou be made free, use it rather. For he that is called in the Lord being a servant is the Lord's free man. Likewise, also he that is called being free is a Mashiach servant. You are bought with the price. Be ye not servants of men. And I go back to what we read in Leviticus, where he said you shouldn't be ruling over one another with vigor, and that you should only have strangers for bondmen. For the children of Yasharal will not be servants, because we are servants. And that's what he's telling you right there. See, if they knew the law, they would know this, would they not? Because he pretty much just said what was in the law, wouldn't you say? Word for word. Because he said if you were called being a servant, then you the master servant. Hold on, I don't want to quote the man wrong. Let's make sure we quote the man right. That man say, if you call being a servant, you this man free man. So get what? You were in bondage, like we read in Leviticus 25. Jubilee come, now you his free man. You were in bondage to sin when Yahushua called you. Now that debt been paid, now you is free man. And he said, if you likewise, he that is called being free is a Mashiach servant. So now since you set you free, now you serve the son of Elohim now. That's why I say I can't understand how if we in debt and this man came and paid off your debt, how you don't serve him when we see all these people who were in pain, all these people who were distressed and discontent and in debt came to David and said, you are captain. We're going to follow you. We're going to serve you. Right, shoot, man. Pull that word up for captain in that 1 Samuel 22 for me, if you don't mind, please, sir. I got it in my mind what word it is, but I feel like I'm wrong. So, yeah. It's Romans 6:18. Being then made free from sin, you become the servants of righteousness. I speak after the manner of men because of the infirmity of your flesh. For as you yielded your member servants to uncleanness, to iniquity, unto iniquity, even so now yield your member servants to righteousness, unto Kadash. For when you were the servants of sin, you were free from righteousness. What fruit had you then in those things whereof you are now ashamed? For the end of those things is death. But being now made free from sin and become servants to Elohim, you have fruit unto Kadash and the end everlasting life. For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of Elohim is eternal life through Yahushua HaMashiach our master. What's the word God for me? Oh, you ain't got it yet. So when you look at that, right, you've been made free. The debt has been extinguished, all because you came down to the cave or you got immersed into his death. Because when you go to get baptized, it's as if you went down to the cave to be with David, correct? It'd be just like you went down there to get in the cave with David. Why did you go get in the cave with David? Because you were in debt, because you were bitterness, because you didn't have bread to eat and water to drink, because you were in distress. And he came to remove. That's why he say, come unto me, all ye that labor, and I give you rest. And when you come down to that cave, then you setting it up that this man is your head and your ruler and your leader. And now you don't live for yourself. You live to serve him. What verse you got?
You said captain.
Yeah. Sorry. That's what I thought. But I thought it was wrong. Well, Sean and Rosh, ain't it? So guess what? The word for captain is Sar, Sean and Rosh. And guess what? You pair to the highest. You set him up to be your captain, you pair to the highest. Y'all know what John 17 say. Perfect in one. I and them, and they and me. Come on back to 1 Samuel 22. We done dealt with that cave Adullam before a long time ago, but I don't remember what Adullam mean off the top of my head, so that's why we just moved on past that. I'm not going to tell you any lies. 1 Samuel 22 and 2. I just want y'all to hear that part again. Everyone that was in distress, everyone that was in debt, everyone that was discontented, gathered themselves unto him. And he became captain over them. And there were about him 400 men. So guess what? Then the Mashiach say, when the Son of Man be lifted up, he'll gather all men unto him. Everybody coming to that cave. Or to be immersed in the death. That's why it always tripped me out when I hear dudes say that you shouldn't be baptized. It's only one West Camps that teach you shouldn't be baptized. And I don't have any problem naming them by name. That's ISUPK, IUIC. GOCC do teach water baptism. GMS, they all against it. You know, Jermaine Grant's crew. They teach baptism ain't scriptural, so you shouldn't be doing it. Even though Hamashiach got baptized. Yeah, it's not in the law. And it is in the law. Power, what's Adullam mean, bro? Just GP to put that up there. Look that for me. I'll show it to you in the law real quick. Come to Exodus chapter 4. Because Brother Francis asked about it anyway, so hopefully he'll get around to it. and see it if he's not here with us right now at this present time. Exodus 40 and 12. It's in a lot of places. Not just in the law, it's in a lot of places, but we give you one out of the law. And thou shalt bring Aaron and his sons to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation and wash them with water. Thou shalt put upon Aaron the Kadash garments and anoint him and sanctify him, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office. Thou shalt bring his sons and clothe them with coats, and thou shalt anoint them as thou did anoint their father, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office. For their anointing shall surely be in everlasting priesthood throughout their generation. So you say, well, how does that got to do with baptism? What does that mean? Well, that's the first thing you got to look at it, right? What tribe was John the Baptist? He was not a Jew of Judah. They were cousins, but he was not of the tribe of Judah. Shalom, Brother Francis. He was from the tribe of Levi. So if he was from the tribe of Levi, what would that make John the Baptist? What was his daddy?
Oh, his daddy was the priest in the temple.
His daddy was the priest in the temple. So what would that make John the Baptist? A priest himself, a Levite. If he a Levite, guess what he is? Every son of Levi a priest. They all had different functions, but they were all priests. So he said that this particular priest, absolutely. So this particular priest, you had to bring him to the door. You had to wash him with water. So let me ask you a question. When a Mashiach got baptized, you can read Matthew chapter 4. Who did he ask to baptize him? He asked John to baptize. What was John's response? He said, you asking me to baptize you? He said, I need you to baptize me. Pause. Malachi chapter 3. Absolutely. No doubt. No doubt. Well, we can look at Matthew 4 because we're going to be back there. Look what he say he gonna do. Behold, Malachi 3 and 1. I will send my messenger, he shall prepare the way before me, and the Lord whom you seek shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant, who you delight in. Behold, he shall come, saith Yahuwah of hosts, but who may be able the day of his coming, maybe abide the day of his coming. Who shall stand when he appear? He is like a refiner's fire and a fuller's soap. So he said this man's coming to purge and to clean, right? So let's take a look at Matthew chapter 4. You know, they're bringing stuff to you, remember. It's been a long, and I'm trying to think of, because there's a lot of places in this text that talk about baptism. Whole bunch of them. We could even look at one, I might grab the one out the book of Yahushua, son of Nun, because that's talking about baptism too. It's a whole lot of them. It ain't just a couple places, it's a few places. My bad, that's Matthew 3 and 13, not chapter 4. So I'm glad we did go towards the job. And it says, then come Yahushua from Galilee to Jordan unto John to be baptized of him. But John forbade him, saying, I have need to be baptized of thee, and come thou to me. Yahushua answered and said unto him, suffer it to be so now. For thus it become us to fulfill all righteousness. Then he suffered him. So why would he say it to become all righteousness? That means him saying to do that this is correct. So you think that they just did immersions and it didn't come out of nowhere? Now, we know that Yahushua is a high priest after whose order? Melchizedek. So for him to operate in the priest's office, he got to fulfill the law himself too, don't he? So now you see, this is why I say take Aaron, right? So Exodus chapter 40. In verse 12, right? So when you bring Aaron and his sons to the door of the door of the congregation, you got to wash them with water. Then it say you'll put on Aaron set apart garments and anoint him and sanctify him, that he may serve unto me in the priest's office. Let's look what happened. Was Yahushua preaching before he got baptized? He was not. So that means he wasn't operating in the priest's office, was he? So when he says he suffered him, then when Yahushua was baptized, went up straightway out of the water, and lo, Shamahim were open unto him, and he saw the Ruach of Elohim descending like a dove and lighting upon him. So how is the Ruach described a lot of times? As a what? Especially what the Christian people like to say. Some brews say it a lot too. His what? His anointing, correct? So if he's receiving this here, if the Ruach came upon him, would he not be anointed? Would he now be set apart? Would he now, with that Ruach upon him, would he now have set apart garments to begin to operate in the priest's office? But then look what the next thing he said. Then he said, you will anoint those as his father, they may minister unto me in the priest's office, and their anointing shall be an everlasting priesthood. So who is this who gonna have this everlasting priesthood in about verse 14? Anybody got any idea who that would be? I'll read it again for you. He say, thou shalt bring his sons and clothe them with coats. Verse 15 say, you'll anoint his sons as you anointed his father, that they may minister unto me in their priest's office, and their anointing shall surely be for everlasting priesthood. Who is this priest's sons? Because we can see that Exodus 40 and 12 and 13 is referring to Yahushua being baptized so that he can preach. Because after he got baptized, he preached. He got tempted by the devil, and then he went and preached, did he not? He did not preach until he had been washed so he could be sanctified and anointed and put upon set apart garment to be a priest. But then it said his sons got to get anointed so they can go be priests. Well, who is his sons then?
Apostles.
His apostles. How do we know the apostles have an everlasting priesthood? Revelation chapter 21. Let's see how we know the apostles have an everlasting priesthood. Revelation 21 and 12. Or we can do 21 and 10. And he carried me away in the Ruach to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the Kadash, Jerusalem, descending out of Shamahim from Elohim, having the esteem of Elohim, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like jasper stone, clear as crystal, and had a wall great and high, and 12 gates, and at the gates 12 malachim, and names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Yasharal. And on the east 3 gates, and on the north 3 gates, and on the south 3 gates, and on the west 3 gates, and the wall of the city, and the 12 foundations in them, the name of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. Well, that sounds like they have an everlasting priesthood. Because we know when he anointed his apostles, when did he anoint them? Do you know when he anointed them? When did he anoint them? Now, he didn't anoint them at the Passover. They just ate the bread and drank the wine. He anointed them. There's 2 points that you could point to when he anointed them for them to be in the everlasting priesthood, have an everlasting priesthood.
Well, after he died.
After he died, but when after he died?
They seen him in the mount.
I give you that in the mount because the Ruach came. Pentecost is one of them, correct, Brother Dennis, but there's another one too. There's another one where he anointed them too. I'll give you a hint. In this anointing, he fulfilled something with Adam. He fulfilled something with Adam with this anointing of his apostles. The one with Pentecost and in the mount, because that's the same thing, that's true. They received the Ruach after he left them on the mount, and they were anointed with the Ruach that day. But there's another place where he anointed them as well, along the lines of Adam. Anybody else? You got an idea? You got an idea about that? When Adam was formed, what did Yahuwah do?
Oh, when he breathed on him.
He breathed on him. After Yahushua rose from the dead in John chapter 20 with his apostles, what did he turn around and do? He breathed on them and said, receive the Ruach HaKadosh. Breathe life into them like Yah breathed life into Adam. And you could look at that as he anointed them as well, because he breathed the Ruach in them. Breathed the breath of life in them, so to speak. And then, of course, as Will and Brother Jennings mentioned, Pentecost is really the completion of it, because that's when he poured it on them. Even more so, poured on them the ability to speak in tongues and to preach the word in other languages, so that everybody could hear it and be saved. Nevertheless, and it's always funny to this day that people don't understand that that's what tongues were used for you to preach the word and other. Because you got a lot of people, like you hear people say Hebrew's the oldest language and this, that, that, and the third. And I always wonder why people say that and get so caught up with it. Your text is written in Hebrew, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day,
If you preaching the word,
it doesn't matter because
it
doesn't matter because you preaching it to. Now, we're not talking about reading it and studying it for yourself. We're talking about something just 2 totally different scenarios where we're referring. If you have the ability to study the text, to study it in Hebrew, then by all means do so. But what benefit of profit is that going to do if you in China and you speak Mandarin Chinese and I'm trying to teach you or speak the word to you in Hebrew? You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make any sense. He's going to put the word in your mouth for you to speak it in Chinese or speak it in Arabic or speak it in Spanish or speak it. I don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't know too many languages out here. Whatever African dialect an individual speak, or speak it in German or whatever the case may be. Because if I'm speaking English and you speak uh, Japanese, that don't serve you no purpose. That don't serve nobody no
You can't
purpose.
tell me about the gospel if you wanted to.
You could, if you wanted to. If you wanted to, you couldn't even do it. So you coming telling me Hebrew this and Hebrew that, and ain't nothing wrong with that. But if I don't speak Hebrew, what you saying don't benefit me. That mean I didn't get the good news, and then you basically did what we were talking about by not feeding somebody who was hungry. Did you do that for yourself, or did you do that for the benefit of the person you trying to reach? And I think a lot of times, a lot of people out here, you doing this for yourself. You didn't do this for this person. You could care less. It wasn't about them, and it never was, and probably never will be. Back to 1 Samuel chapter 22. Verse 3. And when David went, oh yeah, but at 1 Corinthians 14 really pulling from Isaiah 28 and Genesis 42. Genesis 42 show you why Paul said you got to have an interpreter when you speak it in another language. When Joseph was speaking in Egyptian and his brothers couldn't understand him, they had an interpreter there. There's stuff in the law, but these dudes don't know the script, so they don't know that. They don't even know why he said that. They think he's speaking his opinion. It's in the law. That's what happened with Joseph. And then when Isaiah 28, which he's actually quoting in 1 Corinthians 14, he's telling you, I will speak to this people with stammering lips and in another tongue. Because on Pentecost, he spoke to these people. I had a dude say, I've seen that before. Well, silly nigga, that's what it is. Y'all niggas dumb. Like these dudes so smart, they dumb. Then people say, we hear the wonderful works of God in our language. Do you know how amazing that has to be? They say, Peter on that wine. He say, man, it ain't but the third, it's too early. It's 9 o'clock in the morning, nigga. What I'm look like, man? I don't sip till 5. You know what I'm saying? But all jokes aside, like, do you know how amazing that would be if you saw somebody who didn't speak your language? You know they didn't speak your language, and they began to speak your language, preaching the gospel. You don't think that'll perk your ear up? You got to remember, those type of signs and wonders are not for those that believe. Those are for those that don't believe. Well, a lot of dudes are always asking why we don't get no signs and this, that. Why would you get him if you're in a room full of believers? Why would he do that? Prophecy is for those who believe, not signs and wonders. He had the apostles working all them signs and wonders because you had a whole bunch of people who didn't believe that Yahushua was the son of God. So of course he gonna work. Shoot, I can see why he ain't gonna work them now, because these wicked niggas looking for a sign. You know what I'm saying? And a sign ain't gonna be, they forget that part. Because that's what them things is. They signs and wonders, right? He said, yeah, wicked generation seek after a sign and wonder. They ain't going to get it, but the sign of the prophet Jonah, wait on that. Niggas like this here, I believe if I see people raised from the dead. Like I see brother, they say, why we don't see healing like we see in the old time? Shoot, because you niggas don't believe. And even if you did, if people was getting healed, you still ain't going to. Like, why you need to see that to believe?
You want to see it.
Like, I don't need to see.
Don't
I don't need to see none of that. Man, I ain't gonna tell you no lie now. And that junk like this here. And it's kind of ill, right? I was looking at one of them prison documentaries, showed one of them dudes in that solitary confinement. Now, y'all only knows what the dude in there for. And he reaping his punishment. But solitary confinement is something serious. And they just had the camera on cuz. And that nigga was like weeping, like breaking down, weeping, trying to keep his sanity. You know what I'm saying? But you put yourself in this position. Now you got to pay your debt to society, as they like to say. But when you see people, like I used to see people, man, especially being in where you see people crippled, you know what I'm saying? The pain they suffer, you would want the ability to be able to relieve them from that. But to relieve them for that for no other reason that this person might praise God because of what they did. You know what I'm saying? Do you remember that part where it said when the master said, man, hey, man, didn't I heal 10 of y'all with leprosy? Where the other 7 of you niggas at? You know what I'm saying? Because that's usually what's going to happen. But because you really want to heal people to have compassion, because it's more about them. You see they in pain. You see they suffering. You want to relieve it. Not, oh, people believe in y'all, this happened. You know what I'm saying? What type of attitude that is? That say more about your heart than anything. Why would you want to see people in pain? Why would you want to see people suffering? Why would you get some enjoyment out of that? And the only reason you want to relieve it because you think that's going to make people believe in Yah. Whether they believe in Yah or not, just have compassion on them and heal them. If you had that ability, I don't have that ability. It'd be cool to have, but I don't have it. So it is what it is. Verse 3 though. And David went thence to Mitzvah of Moab and said unto the king of Moab, let my father and my mother, I pray thee, come forth and be with you till I know what Elohim will do for me. He brought them before the king of Moab, and they dwelt with him all the while that David was in the hold. And the prophet Gad said unto David, abide not in the hold, depart and get thee into the land of Yehudah. Then David departed and came into the forest of Harath. When Saul heard that David was discovered, and the men that were with him, now Saul abode in Gibeah under a tree in Ramah, having a spear in his hand, and his servants were standing about him. And again, it's still talking about endurance, right? Because Saul is coming to kill David, and he's been after him. And now, even in the midst of this here, if we look at all the things, David really hit it in about chapter 20. That's when he about hit it. He tried to kill him in chapter 19, and David really hit it in 20 when him and Jonathan came up with that plan to hide him for new moon. So even in the midst of him going through this persecution, and all he ever did was stuff that was right, people came unto him and say, you'll be our leader. But notice who the people who came to him. It was people who were suffering, who wanted relief. And now when you could turn around and you could look at that as the adversary is coming after people who are suffering. Because remember, say the devil's like a roaring lion, seeking to whom he may devour. And you trying to come to the person who can relieve you and say, this is my leader. This is the person who going to guard me. And because we could dealing with, the reason why I'm here, because we're dealing with one of the chapters that you had. Because I had that word for safeguard. Because that's dealing with, you got to have a safeguard to be able to endure. Especially when we were talking about last week, like with being chastened and all of the things that breed the endurance to keep on going. Because I mean, like we've been looking at, most people fall out because they get tired of doing it. I won't do it no more. I'm tired. When Abishai got tired, he sent an angel to strengthen him. When David got tired, Amalek gave him bread. People sustained him in those situations. Usually if nobody coming through to sustain you, because you're supposed to stop. Most of the time, you're supposed to stop. Because to really endure to the end, you have to first rely on Yahuwah, and then you have to rely on other people who believe. If you thinking that you can rely on a sinner to allow you to endure to the end, you're going to be sadly mistaking yourself. Word. You're going to be sadly. How could they be able to give you how would they be able to give you a strength of which they don't possess? It doesn't make sense. You know, like I said, and we talked about it before. You got people who are not in the word naturally. They good people. They strong people. You know what I'm saying? The eyesight of Yahuwah, they weak and they evil. You know what I'm saying? But naturally, yeah, that's a good person. That's a strong person. But how they going to give you spiritual stamina? And they don't have that. That's impossible. But we let ourselves think that because we think about the strength that they're exhibiting going through day-to-day life, or the stuff that they can handle. So they're like, that's a strong person. But they can't give you the ability to endure in the word that they're not keeping. You're not going to be able to do it. You know what I'm saying? They're just not going to be able to do it. And shoot. Well, that's for more so for tomorrow. But I kind of look at it, and some of us have made that mistake. Like, and it might be because sometimes you might, because that's what that person may need. Like you see a strong person, they with a weak person. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about weak as forfeits. They're not very strong. You know what I'm saying? Mentally or emotionally, they're not very strong. Usually that person that's weaker needs the strength that other person has, but that's an imbalance in that in their interactions and dealings. It usually blows up for the most of the time because the person who's usually weaker doesn't take the steps to make themselves stronger. They usually just try to lean on the strength of that other person. Like when the word tell you those that are strong ought to support the weak, is to cause that person who is weak to be stronger, so I don't have to support you anymore. Now you can be able to support somebody else who's weak and vice versa. But in life, what I notice most of the time, somebody who's weaker, instead of strengthening themselves, they're using this person as a crutch. Then when the crutch is removed, they fall down And then they blame the person for taking away the crutch. But the person is taking away the crutch because they think your ankle's healed and you can walk on your own. But you can't walk on your own because you were only being held up by the support that this person was offering, and now you mad with them because they removed it. Don't be upset. Now the difference is with Yah, he's not going to remove that support. But a lot of the time, the support that he give when he remove it is because he was never your strength in the first place. You was just holding on to that because it was beneficial for you at the time. Once the benefit gone and he peeped that, he said, let me see if they can be strong without me. And that's what the trials and the chastening is about. That if you take that and endure that, are you still looking at me the whole time, or are you blaming me for what you're going through? You know what I'm saying? That's what most people do. They blame him. But life is life. Stuff happens. You know what I'm saying? Stuff can happen at any given time, at any given moment. Shoot, News for Jack showed me that every day. All them notifications I get, goodness grief. Shoot. They just say I-75 got closed down last night from Gainesville. Fire churn, gone. You know what I'm saying? And somebody will blame y'all for that, but that's just life. Car accidents happen. You know what I'm saying? People kill people. People die. We was at a property today. That joint was crazy. Old dude came out. He said, man, y'all gonna cut this tree in the back? I said, yeah, they're gonna have to bring somebody else in for that. That's a big, big, big dead tree. You know what I'm saying? I'm not that skilled. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, yeah, man, they bought this house in 1955. You saying? He said, this house got original everything. The original tile, original everything. He said the mom died, so the son got it. Then his wife died, and his son died, and he had a heart attack. And he was like, the daughter didn't want the house no more. Owed over 100,000, and shoot, older this house is, you ain't gonna get about $40,000 for it. But it's just the fact of that's life. And we seen the pictures of the family in the house. Didn't look like, what I'm saying, he was that old of a dude. Wife didn't look that old. Gone. Just like that. You know what I'm saying? And that's life. But we walk around like every minute and every second is guaranteed. And it's not. Because that's just complacency because you get so used to waking up every day. You know what I'm saying? I woke up today. Why wouldn't I wake up tomorrow? Why I ain't going to wake up in 3 months? Why I ain't going to wake up in 6 months? And then one day you don't wake up. You know what I'm saying? And that's not got nothing to do with y'all. But then the stuff that go on around you, stuff don't go right. But even if you look at it on the natural sense, we didn't talk about this before, sometimes stuff don't go right just to see how bad you want it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody want everything to be easy. There's some things in life that shouldn't be difficult. For the most part, most relationships shouldn't be difficult. You know what I'm saying? She don't escape.
If you don't think you go to bed.
What? A lot of times things gonna be hard. It's just gonna test your resolve. How strong is your resolve? Where we at now? Are we in verse 7? Then Saul said unto his servants that stood about him, hear now, you Benjamites, will the son of Jesse give every one of you fields and vineyards and make you all captains of thousands of... See, this is what an evil person do. This is a righteous man, and the first thing Saul come with is he gonna give you fields and vineyards and set you up over niggas? I know you niggas evil, but guess what I'm gonna give you? He ain't gonna give you no vineyard, nigga. He ain't gonna give you people to rule over. That's what I'm gonna give you. That all of you have conspired against me, and there is none that show me that my son have made a league with the son of Jesse. There is none of you that is sorry for me, or show unto me that my son have stirred up my servant against me to lie in wait as it is this day. Any line. Because they were conspiring to kill you. But guess what he was trying to do? That's manipulation, and that's a pity party. Then answered Doeg the Edomite, which was set over the servants of Saul, and said, I saw the son of Jesse coming to Nob to Amalek, the son of Atub. And he inquired of you who were for him, and gave him victuals, and gave him the sword of Goliath for the Philistines. Then the king sent, and we didn't read that where it say that Doeg the Edomite seen that. And he definitely did, he definitely lied, because in verse 9, he definitely did give him the sword of Goliath. There it is right there. Wrapped it in the cloth behind the ephod and told him, take that. Then the king sent to him Amalek the priest, the son of Tub, and all his father's house, and the priests that were in Nob, and they came all out of them to the king. And Saul said, Hear now, thou son of Tub. He answered and said, I am here, my lord. And Saul said unto him, Why have you conspired against me, that thou and the son of Jesse, and that they have given him bread and a sword, and has inquired of Elohim for him, that he should rise against me to lie in wait as it is this day? Then Amalek answered the king and said, Oh, who is so faithful among all thy servants is David, which is the king's son-in-law, and go at that bidding, and is honorable in thy house? Did I then begin to inquire of Elohim for him? Be it far from me. Let not the king impute anything unto his servant, nor to the house of my father, for thy servant knew nothing of all this, less or more. And the king said, Thou shalt surely die, Amalek, thou and all thy father's house. The king said unto the footmen that stood about him, Turn and slay the priest of Yahuwah, because their hand also is with David, and because they knew when he fled and did not show it to me. But the servants of the king would not put forth their hand to fall upon the priest of Yahuwah. Now see, the king bugging out. You hate this man so bad that you willing to kill Yah's priest. And the servants say, nah, we can't roll. And that just goes to show you one thing. It don't matter because somebody who's in authority in the word instruct you to do something if it's wrong. You don't do it. You know how stupid they would have been if they would have went ahead and fell on them priests? The king said to Doeg, Turn thou and fall upon the priest. And Doeg the Edomite turned and fell upon the priest and slew on that day 85 persons that dear wear a linen ephod. But you definitely know a stranger ain't gonna have no problem doing it. Kill 85 men. Nob, the city of the priest, smote he with the edge of the sword, both men and women, children and sucklings, oxen and asses and sheep with the edge of the sword. And one of the sons of Amalek, the son of Atub, named Abathar, escaped and fled after David. Abathar showed David that Saul had slain Yahuwah's priest. David said unto Abathar, I knew it that day when Doeg the Edomite was there, that he would surely tell Saul, I have occasioned the death of all the persons of thy father's house. Abide thou with me and fear not, for he that seek my life seek thy life, but with me thou shalt be in safeguard. He told him, roll with me. Abide with me and don't fear. Listen to this here, right? The word for safeguard is mishmareth. It means to guard, to watch, to keep, and to preserve. And you have a meme, a shan, a meme, a rosh, and a tau, and it simply means how the blood of the covenant is going to pair you to the strength of the highest. And he told you to abide with him and not fear. Because the person who's seeking your life, seeking my life. Come over here to 1 Peter chapter 5. And then after that, John 15. Again, it's still telling you how to endure and about persecution. Because even with that, you can't be weary and well doing. Abathar got up out of there. And guess what that means? Y'all going to spare somebody. You think he was going to let him kill everybody? And those priests died nobly. Hold on. Revelation 14 and 12. Because I just want to show you what happened with that priest, what that is. Let me get that while it's in my brain. 14 and 12, Revelation. Oh, y'all over there? You look tired? See, I took me a dope boy nap. I'm good. You know about a dope boy nap? They call him power nap. About a good 20, 30 minutes. That's all you need. Feel like you've been asleep for 10 hours. Here's the patience of the Chesed. Here are they to keep the commandments of Elohim and the faith of Yahushua. And I heard a voice from Shamahim saying unto me, Right. Baruch are the dead which die in the Lord from henceforth. Yea, saith the Ruach, that they may rest from their labors and their works do follow them. Amalek ain't got nothing to worry about. He did good. You don't think his works gonna follow him, even though he died? You don't think all them priests' works gonna follow him, even though they died? They got killed by wicked men. Men who wanted to persecute. Hold on, John 15 again. You got to be willing to endure. And he didn't know he was going to die for what he did, but he stood for it. He said, yeah, I inquired of Elohim for him. Yeah, I gave him a sword. Yeah, I gave him bread. I ain't know nothing about what y'all had going on, but nevertheless, I did what was right. Oh, we finna kill you. Shoot, you don't have to do what you got to do. They say the priest say, the dude say, fall on the priest and kill him. Say, no, we can't do that, cuz. I don't care what they is, and they say they is in the word. They telling you to go against the word. You bet not do it. You know, Doeg the Edomite wasn't going to have a problem with it. He ain't got no standard. He worried about saving his own life. I bet Saul loved me then. If my memory served me correctly, David got a hold to him. As he should have. 15 and 18, John, as he should. It's a lot of wicked bastards out here, man. A lot of weak men. And it ain't just no weak men in this generation. There's weak men all the way around the board. You know, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. People in the world ain't that nasty compared to people who in the Word. What you say? I think people in the Word more nasty than people in the world. People in the Word got more. I just seen people calling a woman who it was direct evidence that this man beat her and tried to drown her in a bathtub. And them niggas say she was showing out for attention and everybody delete her off their Facebook. Dudes like this here, man. But there's people in the Word, but they niggas wild. Wild. And it was crazy is that the man who did it, they came out and said that this nigga got schizophrenia. You know what I'm saying? So if you looking at he got schizophrenia, this nigga liable to do anything. You know what I'm talking about? So this ain't even no, oh, he in the UPK, that's why he did it. Nigga crazy. You know what I'm saying? And they were like, UPK put him out 4 months before he did this here. But either way, the nigga got schizophrenia, the nigga crazy. You know what I'm saying? But I seen the dude, she's an intention whore. You lying on the men of the Lord. I'm like, oh my goodness. There's evidence here that this woman's been beaten by someone. You know what I'm saying? And shoot, there wasn't really no denial on the person who's supposed to beat her. This nigga tried to drown her in the bathtub. There's nothing out here for you.
Is Baba steady today? And I need to go to sleep so I can put my
You think you slick?
cream.
John 15 and 18. Because I've pulled that stunt before.
I can go
Bravo.
to Baba steady and sleep.
If the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love its own. But because you're not of the world, but I've chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. Remember the word that I said unto you, the servant is not greater than his master. And if they have persecuted me, they will persecute you. And if they kept my saying, they will keep yours also. That's what you just seen with David and Abiathar.
I'm kissing Mommy volleyball.
That's what you just seen with David and Abiathar. If they were persecuting David, they persecuted Abiathar too, didn't they? They was on the same type of time. They wanted to kill all the people who were in distress and who had debt and what was the other thing? And who were then discontented, who said, we gonna follow the Lord. For all intents and purposes. That was that shadowing. Now you want to persecute the people who then came in the cave to be set free and be relieved from their pain. Now you want to persecute them. This is why they want to persecute them. 1 Peter, 5. And you got to be willing at it. Well, look, you're gonna be persecuted. And I say the persecution, people in the world can be nasty, but people just nasty. You know what I'm saying? But when you venture out in the world, these people don't know that you serve Yah. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you walk around with a big stick on your chest. You know what I'm saying? Most dudes say, I wear fringes to start conversation and this, that, then the third, because you think that's drawing people in. You ain't drawing nobody in with no cloth at the bottom of your shirt. Draw them in with the gospel, man. If you want to wear a shirt with y'all name on it and certain Hebrew stuff, that's cool. Ain't no pressure. You know what I'm saying? Do what make you feel good. But for the most part, these people don't know what you believe, and they really don't care. You know what I'm saying? They really don't care. But go across some people who say they believe in y'all. People be talking about, ain't no unity amongst the people. Of course, there ain't never going to be no unity when you got people knowing dudes doing. That's what all that stuff in IUIC about. And they say these dudes know these dudes doing stuff out of pocket and they turning their head, right? Turning their head. They say that's what they got issues about. I don't know what them people got going on because I ain't there. You know what I'm talking about? But dudes who coming up out of there making statements that they making, that's what they say they got a problem. Most people think the problem amongst our people got to do with doctrine. It ain't got necessarily nothing to do with doctrine. It's got people who are just evil. You know what I'm saying? They just evil. Doctrine is a small thing. If I don't agree, I don't agree. That don't mean we can't, unless it's something where it's blasphemous, you know what I'm saying? Or you really going against the Mashiach. I mean, bro, we could be straight. I mean, I don't have no problem with that. That don't mean I can't kick it with you. Cause it's like this here, right? You believe a woman can preach the word. I don't. That's not an issue. I'm looking this evil bastard. I'm just not gonna rock with that. And if you try to bring that in my face for me to rock with that, I'm gonna remove myself from that situation. You know what I'm saying? I don't rock with that. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. You know what I'm talking about? If it's a dude in there and he done just committed a homosexual act or he just cheated on his wife, I ain't look at this nigga here, get away from me. I'm like, hey, shoot, tighten up, bro. You know what I mean? It's not that serious. Yeah, you might want to tighten up. You know what I'm saying? That's about it. You know what's the problem? Why you feel the need to participate in such behavior? I can't think like it's dudes who believe in more than one wife. I don't rock with that. That don't mean I can't kick it with you because I don't rock. I don't wear fringes, you do. So what? You know what I'm saying? That junk ain't that big of a deal. I don't believe in baptism. All right, cool. You know what I'm saying? What? I'm supposed to be like, get away from me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that serious. I just don't agree. I don't agree with that perspective. I'm cool. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? He didn't say nothing about not helping him. He said help anybody. Matter of fact, he told you to lend to those. He said you don't have nothing to get nothing back. He said, what profit have you if you lend to those who can lend something back to you? You know what I'm saying? He say, you know what I'm saying? He say, shoot. Say sinner give thanks. He say, shoot, do good to the sinner and the just. You know what I'm saying? It's just best to just do good to people, period. You know what I'm saying? When you able, you know what I'm saying? Just be an example. Be like your Father in heaven. Be perfect like your Father in heaven is perfect. Move like he moved. Get what? He feeds sinners just like he feeds saints, don't he? He clothes sinners just like he clothes saints. I mean, shoot, that's how we supposed to move. It's no difference. It's not that big. I know IUIC teach that right. Don't do nothing for no sinner. But shoot, praise Yah for it if they return you with evil and reviling. That means you counted worthy to suffer for his name. Don't block your blessing. Ain't that what it says? That's a blessing when you get persecuted for the word. Don't block your blessing. And then even if we wasn't in the word, if you did something for somebody and they returned you with evil, because that's what it said in Psalms anyway. For my love, they paid me back evil for my love. So, praise Yah. That's what we did for Yahushua. For his love, we gave him evil. So follow his example, which he said. But nevertheless, if somebody, even on a natural sense, if you did good towards somebody and they returned you with evil, that says more about them than it do about you. That speaks to their character. So I wouldn't even be offended. You know what I'm saying? To be personal, I can't speak for nobody else. I'm not going to say that it would feel great. It depends on the relationship that you have with that particular person if they're doing you that way. Because if it's a close familiar relationship or a romantic relationship or a relationship between a child and a parent, you know what I'm saying? Or an intimate relationship with a friend and they returned you with evil and reviling and you did, that's going to hurt. You know what I'm saying? It's going to sting for a little while, but yeah, that's more reflective of their character. It says more about them than it does about you. And this is what we're talking about it earlier. Just because people act and don't move with kumph and honor and equity doesn't mean that should influence your behavior. Never allow, indeed, hallelujah, indeed. Never allow another person's misbehavior to dictate how you behave. The minute you allow another person's negative, evil, contrary behavior to cause you to behave in the same fashion, you've delivered your power over to this person. Never give your power over to another person where they can be able to dictate your behavior. It should never happen. The only person you should give your power over unto is the Lord. That's about it. You ain't got no business giving your power over to another person. Same token when I tell y'all that if you know how a person is and how they react and how they behave, and then they do that in a negative setting, and you allow that to get you angry and allow that to push you off of what you stand on, you gave your power over to this person because you already knew what they were going to do before they did it. When you know what I'm saying? As corny as it is, it's chess. It ain't checkers. You know what I'm saying? And in chess, you're supposed to be 2-3 moves ahead. So if you dealing with an individual and you know, oh, when this happens, this is how they're going to react, then there's no way that the emotion of anger should well up in you when you already knew what was coming. And in that situation, you should be able to move in wisdom. It's different if you're in a situation with somebody you don't know how they handle things and how they move, and then they react in a certain way, then it causes you to be angry. Then you learn from that situation. You know what I'm talking about? But if you know how a nigga is, nigga ain't got no business getting. You could be frustrated, you know what I'm saying? But you ain't got no business reacting angrily to the point that it pushes you off of what you stand on because you've given your power away. Don't give your power to another person. And that's MGTOW stuff I was telling you about. That's what that junk really more about. Like niggas feel like they giving their power away. You know what I'm saying? So I'm taking it back. I'm taking my power back. And you should never, ever give your power away to another person. You know what I'm saying? And when I'm talking about power, I'm not talking about being vulnerable with somebody, you know, allowing someone to get close to you. Because in allowing someone to get close to you, you have to do that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? That's just what it is. But yeah, you don't give your power away. You don't, and meaning you don't allow another person to dictate how you behave and how you react. Just giving your power away. You know what I'm saying? Nobody should be able to push your buttons and treat you like Pinocchio and Geppetto and pull your strings. You know what I'm saying? You're not a puppet. You're a real boy. You're a real boy. Don't let nobody do you like that. You know what I'm saying? Because and I'm mentioning that because guess what that's what Saul was trying to do, right? I give you vineyards. He ain't gonna give you no vineyards. I'm gonna set you captains over thousands. You know what I'm saying? Trying to cause you to react in the fashion that he wants you to react to get you to do what it is that he wants you to do. And he was doing like what Satan do, tempting you with a desire. You know what I'm saying? So that you could fulfill his will. Because at the end of the day, what Saul wanted, he wanted worship. He wanted everybody to look at him and worship him and see him as that dude. But everybody was looking at David. You know what I'm saying? He didn't like it. It's no different with Satan. He wanted everybody to look at him. But everybody looking at Yahushua, looking attention on me. Come on, man, I give you all the kingdoms of the earth. You got to peep the play stuff right there in your face. Is it not right there? Did you see that? Did you guess that? It's right there in your face. It's right there in your face. Pay attention to the games the devil play. He said we're not ignorant of his devices. We know his plots, plans, and intentions. Anytime somebody try to get you with material items to get you to do something, you know that ain't y'all. Y'all don't do that. Y'all ain't gonna, I know I can get that nigga to do it, but I offer that nigga some vineyards and some power. Money and power. Sad state of affairs. 5 and 6, 1 Peter, we finna get a wrap up for the night anyway. But just know that if you in that safeguard, that blood of Yahushua, boy, that gets you to the strength of the hive. That strength gonna give you the ability to endure. Then you won't get weary in well doing. You'll keep on pushing. David didn't get weary in well, and David went through this twice. You gotta realize this here. David went through this level of persecution to endure with Saul, and then had to turn around and deal with it with Absalom. See, you ain't never seen a dude in the word be a fugitive 2 times. He was a fugitive 2 times, wasn't he? Running from the law. He ain't did he ain't did nothing wrong to Absalom, but that was punishment what he had going on with Absalom. But he was running from the law. And both times, both men wanted to be king. You know what I'm saying? Not now time, they look at the difference. David didn't want to be king. You know what I'm saying? He didn't wake up one day and say, I want to be the king. You know what I'm saying? That was given to him by Yahuwah. Saul didn't wake up and want to be king, but once he got it, he didn't want to let it go. And Absalom seen it and said, I killed my daddy for that crown, nigga. What? And guess what he was doing? Same thing we were talking about, manipulation. What he went over there to win the what? Hearts of the people. Come over here, let me get your heart. I look good too. Look at my hair. I poll it every year.
Big wig.
What? Got big fro, baby. Like hell, my hair, and I'm fair. I'm handsome too. I'm handsome, man. So I come in with them that smooth words. Look at my face. I look just like my daddy. A little better. Come over here, let me win your heart. Gotta watch them smooth oil niggas. Them oil, butter oil talking niggas. You won't let do it, no butter oil talking niggas. That's what they were talking about. That's what R. Kelly was doing. That's all them niggas, old niggas around your way in high school were doing. That butter oil talk. Sweet talk them young girl right up out their draw. They know they simple, don't know no better. That's why people like to come at young people, because they know you're simple and you don't know no better. The worst part about young people is you think you know everything. You know what I'm saying? So that's why you easier to get got. And people know this because you think you know everything, but you're really stupid. That's the same thing happened with the word, why people get got because you think you know everything, but you're really stupid. You know what I'm saying? And it take about a multitude of sins for you to realize how dumb you is. And when we talk about dumb, not thinking, there's three things. You got ignorance. Never be ashamed for being ignorant. And don't never let nobody put you to shame for being ignorant. You know what I'm saying? Because that just means you don't know. Ain't no shame in what you don't know. It's only a shame if you if you willfully ignorant. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to know. Like Eli. Eli would try to be willfully ignorant. You know what I'm saying? You didn't want to know what your sons was doing, but you knew, but you didn't want to know. But being dumb and stupid, that's unacceptable. See, stupid is knowing the truth and doing contrary. Dumb is just you just stupid. You just want to be oblivious and just not think and just do stuff. Don't be dumb or stupid. It's all right to be ignorant. Just don't stay that way. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of Elohim, that he might exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon him, for he care for you. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walk about, seeking whom he may devour, whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. Is that not what Abathar said to him? Because the same person who was seeking to devour David was seeking to devour Abathar. But he said resist him in the faith, and that's what they were doing. That's where you get your strength from. Is your belief, your faith, and your trust in the word. See, if you don't have that, then that's gonna be a problem. But you know what? We're gonna stop right here for now. So hallelujah for Yahushua in the word. Most High willing, we're gonna conclude endurance on tomorrow. But yeah, just think about those things. Come down to the man in the cave. Let him be your captain. Sit back and know that if he's your safeguard, that blood of that covenant gonna pair you to the highest. Gonna get a little strength from that. And the ability to endure in the face of persecution, in the face of people manipulating men to cause you to go against the word. And guess what? In the midst of all that persecution, did David ever do Saul any evil? No. Saul ain't do nothing but try to pay the evil to David every step of the way. David didn't repay this man evil, not now, nary time. That's the righteousness of Elohim. That's the righteousness of Elohim. Look at Abathar. Abathar died showing compassion to the hungry. So I ain't got no shame in that. He didn't give David the sword of Goliath to kill Saul. You know what I'm saying? This man out here fighting battles against Goyim every day. They give him that for that. But Saul was so scared of this man because he knew Yah was with him. He wanted to kill him. That's why the scribes and Pharisees were so scared of Yahushua and they wanted to kill him. They knew Yah was with him. When people know Yah is with you, and again, his persecution did not come from people who were not in the word. It came from his own kinsman. His own father-in-law at that. And look how Abathar died and told him, what? Your son-in-law more honorable than you anyway, nigga. What you mean? Because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Because it wasn't nothing in Saul. So continue to endure to the end. Don't get tired and fall out of doing well. Keep on pushing and do well and stay steadfast in the faith and stand firm. So, most high willing, we pick it up on tomorrow. Bless all y'all at the house. Y'all name of Yahushua. Y'all willing, we be at Edgewood. Stand firm, keep it tight, keep it right. Have a good night. Shalom. And as your mama them used to tell you, when you were little, don't let the bed bugs bite. And if you got bed bugs, you might want to get an exterminator. So, with that being said,